Hey, my name's Esther Quaitmeat, and in today's video I'm going to finally start to tackle that Volkswagen camper. There's a little bit of story before we get into the actual how I made the cushions for this Volkswagen camper. So to start with, when I inherited this van, there was nothing in it. There were wooden slats that were falling off. There was a really wide rock and roll bed that wasn't quite installed properly, couldn't quite go up or down. There was a lot of things wrong with it. The main thing that was wrong with it was that it didn't have any cushions. So I couldn't take it out because I couldn't sleep on the bed because there was no bed apart from a slab of wood, and one of us, between me and my boyfriend, is a bit too precious to sleep on a slab of wood, and it's him. I tried researching really hard and I bought some foam that was about 4 inches of this foam stuff. I got it delivered. I then realised that I'd need to cover it, wanted to have a whole big project of covering it and sewing it, and that's great. So I got the material, chose the material, got the material. It arrived the first time I was driving it to Cadwell Park. Like, literally, as I was going out, it was getting delivered. I ran inside, I cut it up, and I literally wrapped it around and duct taped it along the bottom, and did that to the other one, and had this other little cushion and duct taped it on the side and put it in, and it looked amazing. And I was really happy. And another thing that we did was, I was working for a toilet company at the time, and a toilet came in a wooden crate. And I was like, can I borrow this wooden crate? AKA have. And they let me have this wooden crate. So for the first couple of years, our cupboard was a wooden crate that used to hold a toilet, the toilet crate. We didn't put a toilet in there. We didn't use a toilet in a van. And it held lots of stuff, but it all stacked on top of each other, and it wasn't efficient. So I like that toilet crate. Yeah, good toilet crate. I then drove it, first time driving it, across the Humber Bridge, and it was so incredibly windy. My knuckles were white because I was so terrified of driving this van, and finally arrived at Cadwell Park. And it was great. It was nice to have. A lot of people came, had a sat in it. It was really nice and cozy. And then I'd forgotten the tinfoil window suction window covers. I'd forgotten all of them. So luckily my mum was coming and she could bring them. But the first night, my boyfriend, who was racing, he did need a good night's sleep, but he slept in his parents' camper van whilst I slept alone because I was too excited to sleep in it. So I slept alone in this paddock full of cars, just windows not covered. So anyone that looked in could just see my beautiful angel-like sleep face, drool and all. But it was really good. We used it quite a bit that summer with just the cushions wrapped around with duct tape, and it was good to just get a feel of what we needed, how it worked, get used to driving the van. Fast forward a little bit, 2020 happened, and I was like, finally, this is the time to get down to this project that I have been wanting to do for a while. I'd got a sewing machine for a birthday or Christmas, like years before, because I watched One Too Many Sewing Bees and I thought I could make my own clothes. Hasn't happened yet. I'm gonna say never. So I got this sewing machine, and what we had learnt from the few trips out that we'd done was that the 4-inch foam that I'd bought was too hard. It was not the most comfortable to sleep on. I had 4-inch foam and I bought, I think, another 4-inch. Like the memory foam. I can't remember how much they exactly were, but it was chunky. It was chunky. So possibly mistakes were made. So I got this memory foam, and I had to, in the back, the wood is curved slightly on one side. There's a little ledge. So what I did was I made a cardboard template, traced around the cardboard to make a template. I then cut out the foam using a bread knife because somebody read somewhere that was the best like tool, I'm not sure it was, and then kept going downstairs, sort of trying to see if it could fit in it, going back upstairs, hacking a little bit off and going back downstairs, seeing if I could get it. Cutting it with a knife made such a mess. We were hoovering up bits of foam for ages. So when we got to cut the material, I had it laid out. My boyfriend was sat on the couch playing his PlayStation. I had laid it out. He had to lift his feet because I had to put the material underneath it, and I was laying it out and I cut it, and he was like, oh, that's interesting. I thought you were going to do it a different way. And then I looked at it and I looked at him, and the way he thought I was going to do it was the most efficient way and possibly the better way. So then I had to figure out if I had enough material to do it the other way, which I did. Don't you just hate it? Like backseat DIYers, like he's watched like, you know, one series of Sewing Bee and thinks he knows it all. I mean, he did have the better way of doing it. Shh. He'll never know. He might not watch this episode, so might have got away with it. Yeah, at one point we used I didn't have a straight line, but I did have a bit of dado rail wood that was straight-ish. So straight-ish was all right. And then it was sewing time. So, as I mentioned before, I got a sewing machine because I'd watched one too many Sewing Bees and I thought I could do it. I tried to get really good B-roll of me like, ooh, doing the little machine, and I couldn't make it work. There's about half an hour of B-roll of just me trying to like make it work, and it just didn't work. I threaded the machine up wrong to start with. So in sewing, you've got the bottom part of the machine and then the top part, which is the needle and thread. So and then like it goes down and hooks under, and that's how you get a stitch, something like that. So I think for the first cushion, I definitely didn't thread up the bottom part. I did then learn and thread up the bottom part, and then I wanted to try and make a invisible zip, and it is quite visible. I did not know what I was doing, but I went full heart. I went full gusto at this sewing project, and I just put my sewing pedal down when all things went wrong and just blindly just went for it. And the results kind of show for themselves. At a distance, it looks great. The further you get and the more you look at that seam, it just shows that at some point I gave up on perfectionism and thought, done is better than perfect. If there's ever something that is done is better than perfect, it is this sewing project. I think they are attached with a what's the phrase, like a wing and a prayer, hop stitch and a something. They are hanging on by one thread. I think one thread is holding the entire thing together. I was so happy when I put it all together and put it all down. I think it looks amazing. I quite like the chunky style of the blue chunk of cushions, and they are really comfortable. So I think if I was to do it again, I would not get quite so much chunky cushions. I would learn how to sew first and I would keep the blue. I used outdoor material. If it did get damp, it wouldn't affect it, which I think really helped. So yeah, I think I did good. I think I did okay. So the Volkswagen Camper is definitely a project car. It's gonna take me a long time to get this right. I'm going to do a little series about the interior of my Volkswagen Camper. It's going to be a few episodes long, and it's really the beginning of this. It is very much a project car. I'm not even sure that project cars really end or are ever done. Obviously, I have other things that have happened in the time. I've moved house, I've got a new job, I got a new job after that. This camper will take a long time to get it right, and it's a project car, and it will go on for years if I ever actually do fully complete it. I will have adventures along the way with it. I'll make loads of mistakes. You can have a laugh at me for me doing silly, daft things. So thanks for watching, and if you want to see me fix, drive, or race some classic cars, think about subscribing. See you on the next one. On to the bloopers. Look how young I look there. Like, it was only a few years ago. It was only like 1 year ago, and I look really young. Home ownership has really taken its toll on me.